Perfect. To everybody who's joined in, very quickly drop a hi in the chat box. Tell us which city you're from. And it's always fascinating. I always tell this in every session that we do, is that it's amazing how far this community connects people. And if you're in Kochi and in Jaipur, this Saturday we're going to have a meetup as well. This is for everybody who's joining in. If you're in Kochi and Jaipur, we have a meetup happening in on Saturday, and it's going to be fun because we do these very exciting ebook discussions which convert into a ebook. So drop a hi in the chat box, let us know which city you're from, and a quick check, a house check, is the chat is for chats. If Richa asks any questions and you want to give your feedback or your thoughts or your comments, that's where the chat box is. But if you have questions, do ask in the question Q&A box, because Airmeet has this amazing feature where the questions can be displayed on the screen, but the chats can't. So please ask the questions in the chat box only, and that would be very, very helpful. Hi, Abhiram, I'm from Delhi. Okay, amazing. Thank you so much for coming. And this session is very unique, all right? And it's been a while since we spoke about this. And very quickly, I just want to tell you all, when I say compliance or the word compliance, I always tell myself, okay, it's a rules and regulations and it's heavy, but it's not. It's really not. And it's just heavy that way, right? So I am so glad that we are doing this session, because not just me, I think many people would always think of it that way. But the more you understand compliance, the easier it gets. And today is one of those topics where we can deep dive into a subject that often gets tagged as rules and paperworks. But I'm sure our guest, our speaker today, believes that compliance isn't just about control. It can actually become a culture. And you see, I really like the way that this topic is going to unfold. I am really thrilled to welcome Richa, who's an award winning HR leader, entrepreneur, innovator, and someone who's been recognized as one of the TSW 40 under 40. So she's very, very special to us. And she's the founder of Skilldeck Bangalore, where she's reimagined HR operations and talent empowerment while passionately advocating women empowerment, inclusion, and strategic leadership. Clearly, Richa is one of the finest to take us through this topic. And Richa, I think there is a lot to learn. There's a lot to know about you. So let's start there. Richa, you wear so many hats. Quickly tell us just about you, firstly.
All right, I'm already overwhelmed with your words, Sadia, at the moment. You know, you have already talked a lot about me, and thank you so much for your kind words. Over the last 18 years into the human resource industry, I have moved from recruitment, operations, policy making, compliance, grievance handling, and now as a HR consultant and mentor. I am an entrepreneur, definitely, and I opened the skill rack before 6, 7 years with that mindset that I'm gonna upskill HR professionals. I want the HR to become a business enabler. That was my only motto, and that's what I'm doing. I'm just living my dream. I'm helping HR professionals wherever there are lags. Always people ping me on the LinkedIn or anywhere on the social media. I'm always there for you and helping, solving all wherever to my best I can.
I was on mute.
Yes.
Crazy. Richa, I think you know how short you summarized it, right? The doing best that I can. You're doing beyond best, okay? You're doing beyond best, and there's a lot that you're doing, and I think you simplified it really well. But thank you so much, Risha, for doing this session today. It's really nice, and especially compliance, right? Uh, Deep diving straight up, India's labor law were written for another era, but yet we're living in a gig and a hybrid workforce reality which was not defined before. But so how can HR leaders build that bridge where we can say areas like virtual posh hearings, work from home reimbursements, or scope of workplace definitions without creating that legal and culture friction? How do we do that?
All right, Sadia. So, as our session is mainly focused on how compliance can be treated with the culture and how it is moving to the gig and the other type of setup, the I'll say the setups we currently have could be a hybrid working, work from home, those all things. So compliance, let's not make compliance like a police for the people, right? It should be for the people with the empathy, not for the company. Yes, there are certain points which I feel it's still missing, although in the new labor code the government is just trying to uh, add up the compliances to the gig worker, platform worker, all other definitions has been already added in the new labor code, which is not yet implemented. It is going to be implemented, but still, some of the setup what we currently have, like flexi working, or I'll say work from home policy, that is still missing. Those terms are still not in our labor laws. What we can do is we can extend the same principles with empathy to the type of the people. I'll give you one example. One of my training, one person asked me, Richa, the person worked with me for 2 days, work from home. Do I need to pay PF? So I just realized at that moment, hey, there is a need the person first understand the compliance and then understand, hey, it's not that something you have to do it. It should come from your heart that, hey, I have to give the social security to the people who are working for me. First, it's a compliance who helps. The government also is making the compliance so that we as a company can make our culture or can give the social security to the people. Like I have given you an example for the provident fund. Here, the simple thing is whether it is a contract of service or contract for service, means whether the person is in a direct control of me. Is that person working for me? That person is reporting to me? Am I the supervising person for that? If yes, you are there for the compliance. Now, if I'll take the same thing for a remote person, is that remote person, the work from home person, working for you? Is that person reporting to you? Are you the one who is controlling it? Then yes, that compliance principle has to be extended to the remote person also, although the definition is not there in our labor laws like work from home employees. But the main concept is the same principle has to be applied. We just need to understand the employee definition. In most of the labor laws, whatever you will learn, if you'll go to the judgments, everywhere you will see the same answer: contract of service, contract for service, whether person is in your control or not in your control. As per that, the labor laws or a compliance principles gets extended. What and how we can be different? We know the labor laws. I'm sure the people hearing me, they know the base of our labor laws. Please don't feel like, okay, this is the labor law, I should go with that. You have to think what max or what best I can do for the people who are in a project based consultant to me, who are working from home, where I'm giving a flexi hours. The base concepts remain the same. Just add your empathy, make it more human centric. Like a person working from home, what about if you give one bucket of allowances for all the things what they need to work from home? Could be their internet policy, internet reimbursements, could be if they're calling from the home, a setup for that. If you do that, the principle remains the same, the employee definition is same, the compliance remains the same, but you have to just extend those principle with empathy. Like if it's a posh sexual harassment, why can't you have that a virtual committees? If industrial dispute act is saying us that please go for the grievance redressal committee or a work committee, we can extend it virtually also. It's all about us, that how we extend the scope with empathy, ensuring that it is human centric rather than company centric. Then we will definitely, that only helps to build the culture also. These are the only steps for the employee satisfaction. It's don't feel like, okay, I'm making the policies for my company. It's not for your company, it is for the people. If we will change that mindset, definitely in whatever the setup you are in, you're in a remote setup, you are having a project based consultant, you are going with a flexi working, you are having a platform worker, you are hiring through Fiverr, freelancer.com, any platform, the principle of the labor laws remain same. You just need to extend them.
I totally agree. I think if I had to summarize the answer that you gave, it's it's like the compliance should not be made for the company. It should be made so that the work is done with the empathy. I loved it. I think, I think that mindset is still uprising and it should
Correct.
be developed very quickly. I think the way things are going, I think people should be really quick in adapting this idea that compliance and empathy go hand in hand. It's not built to constrain you, to put you in a box. Well said, Richa. I don't think, anybody would have said it, framed it better the way you did. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you
Richa,
so
for,
much. Thank you.
answering that question. Now, moving to the next question that I had is, with India's DPDP Act, right, shaping how employee data must be handled, how do we strike that right balance between compliance, consent, and trust based people culture?
Correct. The Digital Personal Data Protection Act. It's something, a new term, what nowadays we are learning and hearing. Earlier, we were having a Consumer Protection Acts and the other act where we were supposed to protect the data for the consumer, from the consumer, whatever we are getting the data. Now, the same scope has been extended with this act for the employees also. So here with DPDP Act, the main concern, or the government, what the government wants to say, the data should be handled with the same care as you are caring the data of your consumers, other consumers. You need to take a consent. You need to tell the purpose of your data, that why you are taking that data. If the data is not required, don't do it. If you are taking any biometrics, don't do it until or unless it's very necessary. If you do it, take a consent. See, from our angle, from HR professionals or from the compliance angle, it's just a compliance. If you take it as a compliance, like, okay, I will have my IT server set up, I'll make a policy and I'm done. But from the employee side, it doesn't go like that. For them, it's their trust, it's their data. The data is including their medical history, the biometrics, the Aadhaar. We saw now with the AI. I was reading one post few days back. Nowadays there is a trend that's going for putting up the sari with the AI filter Gemini, right? So, someone from our HR fraternity only commented, I wondered like how my watch, that's very unique watch, has been captured, although in that photo I didn't wear the watch. So that is really a hit. It's the point that hit me. Yes, everything what we are doing on the internet is getting captured somewhere, right? So employee also thinks the same way. Employee is giving you the biometric, employee is giving you the financial data, the medical history. But if we will tell the employee openly that, hey, this will show the transparency, let's have one workshop where we will show our IT servers, hey, this is how your data is getting handled, employee will be having a trust. It's about, don't think it as a compliance, think it as, it also again can lead to the frustration. If it's not handled properly, it can spoil your culture. So make the system transparent, do your workshops, do the small webinars, make the managers responsible, add this to their KPIs, that hey, you will be responsible for these complaints. If this complaints come, this has to be resolved within this much of that overall, I believe it should be there with DPDP.
I agree on transparency, right? I feel transparency builds that level of trust amongst people. Well
Yes.
said. On building on that same line, right? So, what do you think are these recurring human factors, like, you need the trust or systematic flaws that cause HR documentation to fall under, strict scrutiny? And how can we redesign our systems to reflect that clarity, accountability, and consistency?
All right. Okay, I'll give you one example. I'll not say example, the real case, and then I'll define how it happens. One evening, I got a call from one of my trainee. He said, Richa, I have a hearing tomorrow and it is about retrenchment. I said, what you did? He said, "Yeah, I retrenched one employee and I paid a 1 month salary and I have a hearing now tomorrow. That employee filed a case." I said, you paid 1 month salary? For most of us, it would be all okay, correct? We paid 1 month salary and we retrenched the employee. So I asked few of the questions. Do you have a standing operating process for these such things? If the employee was retrenched, there is a difference between a retrenchment and a termination. So if the employee was a retrenched, as per the industrial dispute, it is a last come first go principle. So tell me, from the same department, the same job scope, How many people? What was the joining time versus that employee versus that person was having no answer. There was no clear standing operating process. Person was terminated because it could be any other reason, but named as retrenchment. And there is it was just like, I'm finding it's a jigsaw puzzle without half of the puzzles missing, and I'm trying to make a quick puzzle without having half of the clues in it. So that happens in with most of the cases when the case go for a scrutiny, for any hearing, for any audit. In most of the times, what I have observed that there is no standing operating process. We have half of the information missing. If even we have the information, it would be lying in one email, in one chat box. There is no collection, there are no standard workflows, there is no one person who is responsible for that, and there are no trainings, no audits, no one is responsible, nowhere it is linked to the KPI, and these all flows at last when the problem happens, it makes a great mess for the company. And in 99.9% of the cases, the same issue I have seen. First, the understanding. Second, the process. Third, workflows. Fourth, the responsibility. People don't. Fifth, linking it to someone's responsibility like KPIs, audits. Be updated on whatever it is happening in compliance, and update your policies and SOPs. So policies should not be there only for the book. It should be readily available so that people can have an interest. If people hearing me, if you can Google Valve handbook, you will love reading that. The way they have designed, customized their policies, their standing operating process, it's just like you are reading some comic book. So if we will design our systems flaws for the people so that they take interest on that, they should know what is the process, and you also should know that what has to be done if such cases are there. You are updated, then these flaws systems will not come. So the major reasons are information, standing it operating processes are missing. Third, information not readily available, no systemization, or I'll say the systematic flows. The trainings on that, audit, responsibility, these are the major factors.
You mentioned audit part, right? So in a fast scaling organization, how do you ensure that documentation remains audit proof and people friendly? Because first of all, people, when it comes to audit, they are not educated enough for the end-to-end audit process, and
Correct.
they ask either in the last minute they'll ask questions on. So how do you make it audit proof and people friendly, especially when it compliance intersects with rapid onboarding or exits, and to automate it and simplify it, and there's just so much happening. How do you do that? How do you make it better?
Okay. See, if you're a fast growing industry, that's not an excuse to avoid the compliance. That add a extra layer for the compliance, I'll say. Now you have to think how you can do it. You have to automate the process. It's an era of AI, right? If I'll talk about me, I use multiple chatbots. I use Landbot or some time of free AI chatbots quickly. Create that for the different process that Autobots do your work. Suppose there is an audit. You know that these are the things. Now audits are also of very different types. In HR, sometime ISO 9001 to 2015 call for an audit from our section 4 to section 10. But otherwise a general audit where we it depends like what is my situation and what type of audit I want to do. I want to do the compliance audit, I want to do my operation part audit, I want to grow ahead. Because of that, I want to do strategic audit. So as per the different types of the audit, you should have your SOPs already ready, and that should be automized. Let's say I want to do the onboarding audit, so I should have my operating processes like that set up, my workflows like that set up. As soon as the employee joins, employee get the onboarding kit. So whether you use a tool for that, AI tool, you make a chatbot for that, use LenaBot. That's one of the best. I love Robofy, Beam. These are some of the tools which automate your work quickly. You can do that. Because of that, if you are a very heavy, that industry is fast moving, one day you are doing 1000 ins, 1000 onboarding, you will miss a lot of things. You will miss your nomination forms, you will miss the declaration forms, a lot of things. If that is automized, it's linked to your hrms, you are taking a technical help, you are using ai, you are making a process, there is a standing operating process, there is no chance of miss, and there is no chance then you will having an issue at an audit. What is the meaning of audit? Ultimately checking the health of the system. So if we have already made our health of the system with the standard workflows, there is no chance of a miss.
I agree with the AI part though, but I do have a follow up question. If we start using AI tools, right, don't
Hmm.
you think there is a part where people start not trusting the tool? And if it's super increasing, of course, it's very hypothetical question. Like if we
Correct.
start using more AI, do you think there'll be a chance that people start losing trust? And it comes back to, the whole thing that compliance needs to come with empathy and trust. So how do you think AI tools will increasingly, be an issue for ethically handling employee data, or
Hmm.
it's just handling compliance as a whole? What do you think about that?
See, again, there is a thin line difference. What type of tool you are using at what stage, correct? I'll give you my own skill deck example. I was very fussy, like I was not now, very fussy employer before. uh because when you build an organization from scratch, you just don't want like anything should be a miss at any point. So you start looking for each and every point, and after a few years then you realize, hey, you need to step back now. So in my early stages of entrepreneurship especially, I also use such tools. I don't want to name the company but yes, I use such tools to monitor, because I'm having entire remote setup. My entire team is working remote, so I will use the tool for tracking them, and yes, it the morale dropped down drastically. It's not that they're not working, it's more about they feel like, oh, someone is there checking on us, and they are not having a trust. Think yourself, if if the house helps who we if we have a house helps and I'll keep revolving around them what you are doing, they'll leave your job instantly, correct? Ki, why you are not trusting us? I, although I preach this, but I understood this after many many years, that we should not do this really, drastically, that will uh, your morale down of the employee drastically, it will happen, and I saw that in my case. Then I took the meeting with my sales manager and the other team. I said, what's there? I said, like, people feel like, okay, if you are doing this with us, we will also do with this. We will also check out at exact 6 p.m. This means this for you, for this else, for us also this means this. So use ai, use tech, but don't understand the fine line difference. Is the tool is to support the employee, or is the tool is to spy on the employee? So if the tool is to support the employee is gonna love it. If the a tool is to spy on the employee, you're gonna have a very hard time. Not now, but after 6 months you'll see the difference. But now, what are the tools which you can use to support the employee? Office RAM, Culture App. These are some of the tools where you can quickly see how employee is feeling. Tiny pulse, like quick check on the employee, how how was their week and all. So these tools definitely help the employee to build the morale. They feel like, okay, there is someone not to see us, there is someone to have a check on us, about our well-being, about our mental health. So that trust you have to build, and it's now your choice, like what type of ai tools you want to use and for what purpose.
Beautifully put. I think, that's amazing that, it's on our hands how we use AI. That's where, again, building the trust, taking the tools on that, are giving the freedom, and the more freedom you give, the more trust you can build. I think that's a great way of putting it across. Thank you so much for sharing that. You didn't mention that you had to design HR documentation from the start. So when you were building the whole thing from the scratch, is there something that you would go back and try to redo from the scratch, or said that if I knew this back then I would have done differently? Was there anything like that?
Yes, many instances you feel the same. because we all are learning, right? At a one point, you realize, okay, this is not what I mean to say, and I have to. Normally, I'll tell you very openly what we do. We copy paste the policies, right? So very openly, I'm telling you. And then when something happens, then you realize, hey, you have to make the policy for you, not what is being followed by the other company on Google. Right. And with me in my career, even when I'm doing consulting to many organizations, the same thing is happening. It's not once in a month, every day, I'll say. Recently, last week, I was auditing one organization, and they were having a problem of attrition. As my standard process of the audit, I call for the documentation, I check their policies. The policies, what I'll share two, three policies. The policy one for the full and final settlement says that that will happen after 90 days. The other policy, if you want to leave the company, like early dispersal, you have to take the approval from three line managers. The third policy, which says that, okay, if you have spent anything for the company, the reimbursement time is 60 days. Now, tell me, is it the company is making the policy for the people or for the company? This was clearly the company is making the policy for them, not for their people. So when I spoke to the compliance person and the HR over there, they said like, okay, it's been followed from years, we are following the same. So you are not realizing this is where your attrition issue is coming. Go to your Glassdoor and see what people write about you. Why they are writing? Because you feel like, okay, ये policy to banana, it's just like a standard process. It's like, okay, it's one of the routine work, let's do it. You are not taking it seriously. This is only the one thing which will bring the happiness to your employee. You should not make the policy because you have to make the policy. You should make the policy because you want it for your employee, you want their satisfaction. And that's how we are now slowly building their policies one by one for the people, not for the company. And I'm also learning with my own experience, one day by day, that every day you feel like, okay, ये copy जो किया वो गलत था, this copy was not required.
And wow, yeah, actually, yeah, that's actually really nice. And I think having that one thumb rule while making policies, that you're making policies for the people, not for the company, I think that itself starts a good grounding to create policies. I'm sure everybody in the audience agrees. I just want to quickly take up this moment. Like, if anybody in the audience has questions for Richa, do ask in the Q&A box. If you have any questions, follow up, um in the Q&A box. I think there is a question. I'll just, if you can't, Richa, I'm just going to take it up. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I can hear
Yeah.
you. About from Rachna, I can read the question related to ISO 9001. Okay, Rachna, there are different ISOs who called for audit. But especially for the HR part, 9001 to 2015 is the one audit, ISO compliance, which asks for the HR audit also, because we can implement the same thing. If it's ISO 9001 2015, it talks about the quality, and the same quality we need to take it in the human resources also. So you need to see the section 4 to section 10 related to that. So that talks about the different things, starting from the context of organization, like how your organization structure should be, what you are giving to the people, how the quality should be. So if you are 9001 to 2015, especially that organization should go for a yearly audit for the human resources.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I think we did see a thumbs up. I think that was her. So thank you so much for answering that. Very quickly, let's just dive into this part, right? Crafting a compelling EVP for today's workforce. And when I say today's workforce, it's because, employee expectation has definitely shifted from just I need to work, need to earn. It's shifted to purpose. I need flexibility. I need mental well-being. So, how should we evolve our EVP beyond compensation and titles, especially for emerging talent in tier 2, tier 3 markets?
Correct. Sadia, I just want to say, gone are the days when people were just looking for cash. Correct. Now people are looking for what's extra. Extra doesn't mean that ESOPs, perks, medical insurance. That's required. We call that as a fringe benefits. That's required definitely. But what extra? How about the mental well-being of the employee? How about flexibility? How about the culture? What do you vouch for? What's the culture where the employee is going to work? These all things now matter. And these things are not only to write for. It's not okay what I'm vouching on a LinkedIn versus what I'm having. There should not be any difference. I remember whenever I interview 70-80% times, especially with the Gen Z generation now evolving, with those especially, they don't feel like okay if you're giving them a 20% 25% hike, they are okay. But what they want is flexibility. Yesterday only I was interviewing a man. He said, Richa, I'm okay if you give me a 20% hike, but I want to leave 1 hour early because I have my grandparents to take care. My father is no more. So it's not about like they want a flexibility to work from home. It's more about that flexibility. As a company, we should understand their life. That's the flexibility, that's the understanding the person is expecting from the company, that whether company understands me, whether company is understanding what I need or what I may need in the future, what kind of culture it would be, how about my mental well-being. I remember a few of the companies, I'll not say remember, I know a few of the companies still, some of the managers sometimes become too much that they wantedly will start the meeting at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. because they don't want the employee to leave early. I know, we have to shift that mindset. Gone, I have seen because when I started, before uh, 18 years, at that time, yes, that culture was there. I'll not deny that. But now it's not there. People want dignity in the job. You give them ESOP, and tomorrow you are having a group meeting and you are appointing that person in the meeting. So what EVP you are talking about? EVP is not your perquisites that okay, I'm giving them ESOP, I'm giving this. EVP is as per the job. What is the proposition you are offering? The person is working for you. Are you giving the dignity? Are you treating that person with the dignity? Are you giving understanding that person what type of culture you are offering? Is there any pressure? If yes, how much pressure? What, how you are taking care of employee? That all falls under EVP. And as per that only, I believe now we should start making our policies. We should not be like the old man guy. Oh, it's 6 p.m. and let's start a meeting, guys. You cannot leave before 8 p.m.
Yeah, I feel like any meeting on a Friday is a crime. It should be bailable offense.
Correct, correct, correct. Yes, yes. No, I
Yeah,
sometimes now also gets offended. Like Saturdays for us is just like a holiday. My
yeah,
team check-ins and they check out. Saturday is a half day for us. They check in and they check out at 10 a.m. only. 9 a.m. check in, 10 a.m. check out. I said, why even you did check in? What's the need even to do that? And they also understand, the company understands us. So it's fun day for us. So we are going to have a fun. So I said, have fun completely. Why there is even a need to do the check-in?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's also there. Like you want that ease of mind that you checked in, but you checked out. No,
Yes.
yeah, crazy. I think again, I really like the way that we have come across the whole that policies should be made for the people. I think given said that, right? How do you build credibility in EVPs while building it? And it should be from the scratch because it can't be just, okay, it's a good policy, but how do we build credibility on that? So over to you. How do credibility part?
So credibility, if you want to check for you, if I have to check for me, I will definitely ask my employee how they are feeling. Yeah, right. It's not about what I'm writing on LinkedIn. I might write a beautiful lines, a headline. Hey, I'm doing this for my company. I'm doing this, but no, it's more about what my employees are feeling. So we should do our regular checkups like quick meetings, skip level meetings, make a brand ambassador from the team for the cultural meetups. So, you get an idea what actually your employee is feeling. I always say that, suddenly your engagement or a culture is not built. It comes with the three steps. You have to make first employee satisfied. then make the employee engaged, and then make the employee inspired. If you have the major problem at the satisfaction, mainly when the employee is working, they have a problem related to charter like mission, vision, where I will be after 3, 4 years, 5 years. They don't have an answer to that. They have a problem related to design. They have a problem with the conflicts, relationships, like my that person having a politics. This, so those all issues, whatever the employee issues are gonna come, charter, design, relationship. If you will have a firm policy with empathy for the people, so that satisfaction issues will be solved, and do the checks on those problems with the different things. You can have a skip level meetings, you can have a cultural ambassadors in your organization, you can have a random anonymous surveys, pulse surveys, a lot many things we can do to see that whether our design, I'll say, the satisfaction issues are solved. Because if that satisfaction issues are not solved, nowhere you will be able to build the culture. So EVP only revolves around those issues only, making employees satisfied, and what you are vouching actually employees feeling that. So you can check only internally, not externally. You're on a mute.
I totally agree with that part. And you know what, like, many organization promise flexibility, right, when it comes to adding policies. And some companies have flexibility as a policy, but it still operates under outdated control mindset. Like, just one of the things that you mentioned is the monitoring the, their usage of the laptops, or how they are logging in and logging out. It's how can leaders close this expectation gap without losing the business discipline, where people feel flexible and the policy stays true, and there is the lack of, you know the control is justified, and even if there's too much control, it's not hurting the flexibility. So how do you build a policy like that? Because that's what, when I really rethought about the answer that you mentioned, is how do you build a policy like that which says flexibility and means it?
Okay. So first you need to understand from the pulse that what actually your employee demands. How's their pulse, how they are feeling versus what you want. What you want cannot be implemented suddenly. Like, you want to track them, you cannot implement suddenly employee tracking policy and say that, hey, we are going to implement, this is the implement day, this is the software we are going to put, and this is how you have to report. No, it's going to spoil your culture. You have to understand these all small sentiment, we call that as a sentimental analysis. Do those analysis and understand that, is your employee okay with that? Are they really are they really worried? Because in their system there might be a lot of data. Employees not worried most of the times that they are not working. Employees mostly worried about how their systems will be tracked. So what actually is the problem? So you can do this with a lot of things. In a technical terms, we do it a Pareto analysis, then we make a fishbone to understand that, okay, where the problem is there. If I input the software, what is going to happen? How many people are then? And if these people are in, and then out of that, how many chances are there that this people will go in that? If that, then what is the reason? So we go with a very expanded form of clarification till fishbone diagram. And then we take a decision, okay, this might work or this might not work, and then we build and craft that into the policy. So policy is not something that, okay, yesterday my CEO said, okay, let's do that and let me implement that next day in the morning. It doesn't work like that. You have to start from a very beginnings, understand what's your culture, now what's your mission, what's your vision, what your actually management wants to say. Is it aligning to your values as a company? And then cascading down that to the individual level. But for the individual also, you cannot enforce all of the things all of a sudden. You have to go through the analysis phase. You have to understand that, okay, if your employee wants this, then at what level? If not, what is the reason? Is there any alternate? Because sometimes we have a conflict. I also sometimes it's like in between puppet between the management and the employee. Management wants this and employee does. Most of the HRs have the same feeling. Employee don't want that. Then is there any way like we can come up with any alternate solution? So like that, you should not enforce the things which your employee is not willing to do.
I agree with this, but now that we have spoken so much about during the working, um, when we are working and while we are working, how we, the compliance needs to be built and how to keep the current employees happy. What about the time of exit interviews, right? So how can we build more predictive, more psychological safe system, like stay interviews or flight risk models, to spot the churn before it starts? Because while people are leaving, we really need to understand how to retain that top talent. So how do we build a safe system like that?
Okay. For me, exit interviews is you are doing when already the damage has happened, correct? So, in our PMS, we might all have heard about KPIs, and there are two type of KPI: lead KPI and lag KPI. I always say that, okay, just try, when you want to improve, measure more lead KPIs over lag KPIs. Lag KPI means the final outcome. Lead KPI means the thing what where I'm leading to, right? If to get into that output, what I have to do, and for that I'm doing a check, that is a lead KPI. So if, for me, exit interview is a lag KPI. Damage ho gaya. It's done now. You are measuring now. The person is not in that mind frame who will give you the right answers. The person want to get rid of you. So if you are checking at that moment, person needs the experience certificate, the person need all other document from you, the person is going to be very sweet. But the person is not going to be sweet when someone is going to ask about your company, right? So that's a very bitter reality. And even if I have to join any other organization, I will first ask the people on the LinkedIn of that organization how you're feeling there before I step in there. And it's about like how you have made that person feel. If you have, if we feel like, okay, we are doing good, but it's not that way. You have to understand from the other person angle. Everyone has their own opinion. You cannot change it, but you can work on that. That's in your hand, and you can only work when the employee is with you, not at the time when the employee is. Yes, I'm not denying exit interviews are not helpful, but it's 50% helpful, because very rarely you get to the right answers. You have to do a lot of analysis, you have to get into a lot of exercises, and then you come to know the reality. But yes, you should always go with the stay interviews. Keep a regular check. Try to understand the employee feeling when the employee is there. Implement digital mood boards, reverse monitoring sessions, employee listening circles, stay skip level chats. These all things will help to understand that what employee is feeling, rather than, okay, it's a damage done, now let's me measure the lag KPI. That's not gonna help.
Totally agree with you. I think there's so much, compliance is a huge conversation. And I was just thinking, I was looking at the time, I was like, wow, this is such less time left, and there's
Yes.
so many more questions I have to
Hmm.
ask Richa. And
Sure.
this is to everybody out there. If you guys have any questions, do drop in the Q&A box, or we'll pick it up. Richa, I do have a question, right? So you've been a strong advocate for women empowerment. So, what systematic changes in compliance framework do you think is necessary to make workplace truly equal that way?
So I believe, it's the compliance should not be taken only for the ladies. Correct. There should be a policy for the male also. They also deserve the equal rights. Whenever I train people, the people ask me, hey, I'm into the US compliances also and Indian compliance also. There is a difference. So in Indian compliance, we don't have a paternity policy. Right. Versus in India, we have I'm saying opposite. In Indian, we don't have a paternity. In US, we go with both Indian maternity and paternity. In India, we have only maternity. People ask me, my company is giving this much of maternity policy. Are they compliant? I said, maternity, I can guide you because that's the compliance, right? You have to go with the 26 weeks, depend like it's a second delivery or it's a third delivery. As per that, it gets changed. But in my paternity, they are just giving me a 1 month off. I said, your company is very good if they are giving you 1 month for paternity, because there is no law governing the paternity in India. Correct. So that's the shift I really love if the government can bring, because the compliance is even related to the harassment, posh. It's favoring or inclined more towards the female than male. As I said, one for paternity that is missing, that has to be there. It's not that generation only female is responsible to take care of the kid. It's the both who has to, and I really want that should happen one day.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So, coming to this, you mentioned so many, there's like so much that we can learn globally, right? So, looking ahead, what are those thoughts or things that India really needs to pick up so that, or you could mention that single disruptive compliance challenge that Indian organizations, really need to deal with in the next 5 years?
I can name a plethora of them because
Right.
in most of my consulting assignments and training assignments, 90% people are not aware that is for me. So I want to say here, it's not a government needs to wake up, it's us who needs to wake up. I was teaching Apprentices Act a few days back, and the person said, "Ma'am, this is not for me. Can we skip?" I said, "Okay, in which organization you are in?" I'm an IT company. I said, "Okay. So you feel Apprentices Act is not for you?" "No, it's not for me, it's only for the factories." I said, "All right." Same way Industrial Dispute Act. The people again feel it's not for us. And that's really, I whenever I train in each of my class, I every day I feel the same. There is a lot I can do. There is so much of a gap. And also from the government side also, I really want to highlight few things. It's too much complication, too much of complication. If I will read the employee definition for Industrial Dispute Act, it's not covering managers. People feel like, okay, only it is for workers. It's not like that. It is covering all type of employees except the managers withdrawing 10,000 rupees. Versus if I go to PF, it says something different. The coverage, the judgment of 28th September 2019, that says that okay, the PF, if the employee basic plus DA is less than 15,000 rupees, you have to cover all the allowances also. We still pay the PF on basic, most of the company. But if the basic goes more than 15,000, as per paragraph 26(6), you should not go more than 15,000, means you should limit to 1,800. If you want to, then you have to do the joint declaration. I'm sure people hearing me here, 90% of the people are not aware of that. And it's not about the people, it's more about the law itself. It's so complicated. Every definition is so complicated that okay, one law is saying this, second law is saying this. Like I'm teaching defray allowance for the PF versus defray for the ESIC. Both are different. We don't consider defray as a uniform in ESIC. So it's about the people at some time, but yes, the government also needs to get waken up and make a one streamlined process. If this is the employee definition across all. They have tried to do in the new labor code. If you'll see the new labor code, they have divided the wage definition into the two parts, inclusions and exclusions. And here also they make it more complicated, although they tried to simplify it. They said like okay, if the exclusions goes higher, the difference you have to pay it in the inclusion. Now people have misinterpreted that, and they started thinking okay, anyways I have to make basic 50% of the gross. If these things government make it simplified, do the trainings, to the people, to the HRs, and start giving free sessions where person can understand these things better, would be great. And also simplified the definitions for all the laws. Let's make it one simplified definition. This is employee, this is the wage definition. Now pick up any labor law, any compliance, every law has something different to say about employee and some different definition to say about wage. Sometime I myself, after so many years of an experience, get confused, and I need to go and watch the judgments, that for this particular thing what was the judgment given, and as per that we should take the decision. And the people who has to really deal with these things, it's very difficult to remember. And that's what much in Indian laws that's required.
I completely agree. I think one of the things that I feel like the laws and compliance should be taught early or in schools and colleges, like at least subtly explain that these are the laws instead of just vast old traditional knowledge that is still continuing. In fact, I go back to my college, they're still learning the same thing that I learned, and it's so outdated. I
Correct.
think they should really pick up the new laws and should be able to explain it better. I totally agree with you, and there's so much more. But given said that, we have so much more to talk about compliance, and there's so much more to learn from you, Richa. But let's quickly run into a rapid fire since we have a quick 5 minutes here to go. So, if you had one compliance myth to bust, what would you be?
That compliances are not only for factories.
Ah, nice, nice. That's a really good one. So, what's the most underrated HR tool for compliance?
The For the compliance, especially the tool.
Yes,
I love going again and again to Simpliance.
compliance. Okay,
Yes.
nice. I think that's something that everybody else can note in the thing is compliance is a really great tool. A book or a podcast that you would recommend to HR leaders to understand compliance a little better.
Okay, I'll not say the book. I always say that please go to the our labor websites of the different state government, and we have a labor gadget. Just
Okay.
Google labor gadget. If you'll Google labor gadget, every information is there.
Wow. I think this is very helpful. This is really helpful. I think it's a very helpful tip. So, what's the one thing you wish every employee and employer knew about HRs?
One thing I didn't get your question. What? One
So,
thing?
what is that one thing that you wish people knew more about HRs?
The people should not feel HR to be a Diwali, Rangoli, holy person. The HR has evolved a lot, and
Yeah.
they are now a
True.
strategic partner. So it's a very big, broad scope. I'm a part
Yeah.
of the different international communities. I learn a lot from them. And I really want to say we in our HR practices, we are really very behind.
True, true.
Mhm.
Very. It's because of this mindset of people, right? It's
Yeah.
I totally agree. Every HR that I've spoken to, and I ask them the same question. They say that we are not people who are just doing rangolis on festivals. We are beyond that. We're strategic partners, and
Right.
we are making your lives better. And it's an
Correct.
underrated art, and it's building the soul of a company, and that's what HRs are, and
Yes.
it's a very understated art of it. And given said that, I think we are very close to the end of the conversation. Richa, I just want a last answer from you is, what advice would you give young generation that's stepping into compliance, stepping into HRs? That one piece of advice that you wish you got when you were, right out of college, what would you give?
Don't underrate compliance.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one advice because we feel like, oh, we are following from years and this is correct. That mindset should not be there. The things in the compliance part also is changing a lot. You have to be updated. Be ready to update yourself every day. Every day should be a learning for you. Now the government is also with the Modi ji especially coming in, he's trying to reform the labor laws like anything. If you'll go to the labor gadgets, if you'll go to the labor law website of your own state, every day there is an amendment. So if you're thinking what I'm following from the last few years is correct, that's not correct. Let's wake up and let's upskill us every day. I have a habit, like I need to spend myself on me at least 1 hour every day. So if we'll have that habit, yes, that will help us in our career.
Brilliant conversation that we have had. And Richa, I really feel like we can have more questions asked to you and more insights, and I'm sure you'll give a bang on answer. And there's so much to learn from thought leaders like you, strategic partners like you, and your journey itself has been so inspiring. And especially for someone who's really passionate about compliance, they will understand every issue and really understand and work with you. I think people like you are making waves and really helping HRs. And given said that, Richa is in the Slack channel, so if you have any questions, do reach out to her. I'm very sure she'll help out. Also, if if you have any more questions, we have a couple of minutes. If anybody wants to drop it or would like to reach out to Richa personally, go ahead, Slack channel, she's there. That's it. And Richa, thank you once again. It's been an absolute pleasure doing this session with you. It's been amazing. And those of you, if you want to come around and see this recording, it'll be available in the same link. You can come back, same link, the
Yeah.
recording will be there. So that's it. We do have a chat. So
Yeah,
the
someone
recording will
asked
be
you
in
the
the
list of the acts and compliances for the IT companies. You can ping me on the Slack. I'll share you the list.
perfect. I think that's a wrap. I'm just checking if there are any more questions. Nope, I think we've covered it all. Thank you, Richa. Thank you so much for doing this session. I had a fun time. I had a lot to learn.
Me too. I
And
love being here. Thank you so much. An amazing host.
oh, thank you. Thank you so much and have a wonderful evening ahead. And those for you who plugged in, you as well, have a wonderful Wednesday and all the week ahead. Thank you, everybody. Bye bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.